Hello buddy, it's Eric again, and I got today a Stevens 311D hammerless double-barreled shotgun manufactured in the 1920s. So the first thing we're going to do though before a review, like always, to appease the YouTube safety Nazis, we're going to do a safety check. As you can see, the tubes are empty, and we will get on with the review. The Stevens 311 is a double-barreled 12-gauge shotgun, although some other versions come in 16 gauge and some come in 20 gauge. But the 12 gauge is by far the most common. And for people who are first-timers to shotguns, the term gauge as a measurement is basically the inverse of pound. And what I mean is that in a 12 gauge shotgun, what that means is that in the bore of a 12 gauge shotgun, the base of the bore right here, a perfect sphere of lead weighing 1/12 of a pound would fit in this bore. So that's where 12 gauge comes from. And that's why, 20 gauge is smaller than 12 gauge because it'd be 1/20th of a pound, and 28 gauge would be 1/28th of a pound. So that's the measurement of gauge. And sometimes you hear people talking about 410 gauge as well. 410 is actually a caliber, not a gauge. And 410 is actually very similar to 28 gauge as far as that goes. This shotgun is very basic on features. It's got a safety right here. This is a safety switch that you can move forward. It's on fire. Click it back. It's on safe. And the other thing is that this shotgun will automatically set into safe when you open the shotgun and then close it again. It'll automatically reset to safe before you fire. So as you can see, I just opened it and I can't pull the trigger. And so you got to disengage the safety before you can fire it. These were first introduced, I think, just prior to 1920. And in 1920, Savage Arms bought out Stevens, and Savage Arms basically took over the Stevens line. But these shotguns were very popular in the 1920s. They were very cheap, I think for like $15 if I remember correctly, although I'm not an expert in gun prices in the 1920s. It was a very low amount. You can send a check in to Sears Roebuck or to Ward's Montgomery, or Montgomery Ward's I should say, and Sears would send one of these to you in the mail. And there was a completely different time. There was no background checks, there was no filling out a form, there was no even showing any ID. Anyone could send in money to Sears and Sears would mail one of these out to them. This gun actually doesn't even have a serial number, which was very common because serial numbers were not required prior to 1968. And the Gun Control Act of 1968, which sets the serial number requirement, exempts any firearm which was built before 1968 with no serial. So this firearm has no serial number on it. It's just a Stevens 311. And these firearms were very popular with farmers because they were used for rabbit control. You'd shoot rabbits with them. You'd hunt birds with them. Pest control on the farm. And they also would work pretty well for competition as well. This was built to be a field gun. As you can see, there's two different chokes, and that's another shotgun term. If you'll notice, the barrel to your right appears to be bigger than the barrel to the left, and that's because choke is basically when you get a shotgun barrel and they close up the barrel near the end, like they funnel it, they constrict the end of the barrel to keep shot closer together, and that's what a choke is. And this is done so that shot stays closer together, so the shotgun is more effective out to greater distances. So one of these chokes is a full and the other is a modified. So that's a completely different video I'm going to make involving shotgun nomenclature. But basically, this gun was made for the field because it has two different options for ranging due to the different chokes. The other more infamous aspect of these guns was during the 1920s. These were actually very popular weapons for criminals because, as you can see, you take one of these and you saw it down, and then you saw it off here past the wood on the barrels, and you have a very compact weapon that can go under a jacket or under a coat. And this was done all throughout the 1920s before the passage of the National Firearms Act of 1934. And even more tragically, a weapon converted in this manner was used in the 1999 Columbine shootings. A Stevens 311 that was sawed down. These weapons are actually still very common. I mean, these sold for dirt cheap prices. There was millions of them made, I believe. Actually, I have no idea how many were made, but it had to be a lot because I see these all the time at gun shows. I mean, they're everywhere at gun shows. They're everywhere on Gunbroker. I mean, I've seen these go for as low as $50 and as high as $300, but you'll probably can find one in the $150 to $250 range, which makes them reasonably inexpensive for a shotgun, and they are very practical for the money that you're spending for it. I mean, this, you can take out rabbits, you can take out raccoons threatening your livestock, you can put food on the table, you can even defend your home with one of these. This is a very practical and very simple firearm. To load the firearm, you basically put this lever to the side as I'm demonstrating, push it to the side with your thumb, and you open the bores like this, and then shotgun shells are inserted directly into the tubes, and then you secure it, and like I said, you then have to disengage the safety before you can fire it. And to unload it after you're done shooting, you can open it like this, and you know, if anyone who's experienced with a double-barreled shotgun knows a little trick, you kind of just hold it and go like that, and it'll throw the shells out of there. Just kind of cool, but other than that, you can just pull them out by your hands. There is no auto eject on this shotgun. So if you're a first-timer in the market for your first shotgun, this is a shotgun I highly recommend. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this. It's an inexpensive shotgun. They're very common, and they are very effective for what you pay for. So would I feel confident hunting or defending my life or take pest control with this shotgun? Absolutely. No complaints whatsoever. It's a cheap design, but it's a very rugged and well-made design. And it just shows you that even in the 1920s, or even really as far back as the 1850s, from onward, there was a very high level of craftsmanship in many firearms that were built. And this includes even the firearms like the Stevens shotguns. So again, this is my review of the outstanding Stevens 311D, and I highly recommend this shotgun to anyone who wants to purchase one. Now, they're not made anymore production, but you can buy them on Gunbroker for a cheap price. And if you search any gun shop or pawn shop or gun show, you'll come across one eventually, probably sooner rather than later. These are very common, very popular, and like I said, a very quality gun for your money.